If the Reds are going to make a trade at all this year, it has to be for an outfielder. We'll tell you why on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting together about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we are glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day. And on today's podcast, we're going to tell you why it might be a fun idea to think about rebranding a minor league team. That's coming up later on in the show. There's been some talk about, do the Reds need a top flight closer? And where exactly does this Reds bullpen stand when it comes to the rest of the league? We'll discuss that here in just a few minutes. But I want to begin today's show by looking at this outfielder, because quite frankly, Steve, and you and I both know this, it's never too early to talk about the trade deadline. And I think that the Reds have a real shot here that they could be doing something at the trade deadline. But ultimately, there's an obvious way that they need to go about that. And that's all coming up on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app and create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, Steve, there's reasons why the Reds need to trade for an outfielder. And quite frankly, it's simply because of all the other outfielders that are on the team.
Well, if you look around the room right now, there are not a lot of options for this team. We see Tyler Callahan go down with the broken forearm yesterday. We're going to get a little bit more on that before the end of this segment. You watched the postcast last night. You know what I think. But you look around, Will Benson, not the answer. You look around, Jacob Hurtubise, who got the call up, is not the answer. He's a guy. That's true. He's a person that you can put out there and say is an outfielder. That's
He's got a glove.
True.
Yep.
He has a glove. But beyond that, I don't know what value he adds to the roster other than an occasional at bat that might work out in the Reds' favor. The simple truth is this: they need an outfielder. They have needed an outfielder for 3 years now, and it's a glaring need that's gone unaddressed. Now, I know Nick Krall went out and got Austin Hayes, and from what we've seen of Austin Hayes, that was a really good pickup. And if he can get past these little nagging injuries and stay on the field, that's probably a good acquisition. That did not fix the problem of depth. And there are now more injuries into exposing that problem of depth. So I don't, trade deadline, Jeff. No, they need an outfielder this week. They need to be on the phone right now looking for a deal to get somebody in here that is a bona fide major league outfielder that you can put in the lineup every day and that will produce. That's what this team has needed. That's what this team needs right now. That's what they're going to need down the road. Let's just get it done.
And everydayers are probably like rolling their eyes like, guys, we've heard you say this for a couple of years now. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and to not get too much further deeper into why they need to go trade for one, let's look specifically at how they could make their outfield move within organization, because you got to really squint really hard. As I always say, you got to squint hard, turn your head sideways, turn the lights down low, and I don't know, jump up and down or something to see this the way that you need to see it. But I think that ultimately, like the best way that they could utilize the outfield and make the lineup make sense is that you move Hayes to right field and you platoon a left field combination of Gavin Lux and Santiago Espanol. And oh, by the way, Steve, those guys only play in the outfield. They are not actually outfielders.
Right. Other caveat to that is if you'd rather use that platoon be Lux and Steer versus Lux and Espanol, like either or.
Same argument,
depending on what you want to do at first base. But neither one of those guys are outfielders. Here's why I think it's okay. Okay is not the right word. Here's why I think you can minimize why you can minimize the exposure by putting those guys in left field. Okay. Because TJ Friedl is a very good center fielder. He can cover a lot of ground. He can take away that center field side, that center field gap of left field.
The left
Friedel
center area. Yeah.
Friedel can cover that. Having Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop takes away the short left field area. He eats a lot of that up with his ability to range. So really, you've got to have that outfielder in left cover more from the foul pole to 3/4 of the way into left field and 3/4 of the way towards shortstop. So it's a very small area they really have to cover, knowing you have those two other really good defenders there. I think it minimizes the exposure. Will there be plays where we're like, what in the world was that? Yes, there absolutely will be plays where we're saying that, and you're going to tell me again that this is what happens when you play non-outfielders in the outfield, and you will be right. But with what's in the room right now, with who's on the team right now, I think that's the best possible outcome to keep decent bats on the field. And that's really what they need to do. I would rather sacrifice that defensive left than have Jacob Hurtubise get a ton of at-bats for this team. I would rather
Blake Dunn or
Blake Dunn. Right. So because those guys are very small role players, and we've seen what happens when the Reds try to use very small role players in full-time gigs. It does not work.
And I think that's the important distinction as well. Hurtubise, Dunn, role players. I think the Reds are okay, and specifically Terry Francona and Nick Kroll are okay with bringing them up. And then if they're on the bench for like 3 or 4 days at a time, that's all right. I think the reason that we have not seen Will Benson back, and the reason that we have not seen Rhys Hines back.
Is everybody going to be Will now? Is that what we're doing? Did they call up Will? Did they call up Will Hurtubise today?
Where there's a will, there's a way, Steve. But when it comes to Will Benson and Rhys Hines, I think they look at those guys and say, if we're bringing them up because they're going to play a lot, because they think they can still develop into almost everyday type outfielders, and they don't want to jeopardize that development by setting them on the bench for 3 to 4 days at a time. That's why we haven't seen them. But still, I still wonder, like, is Nick Kroll coming into Tito's office? And like, I'm imagining a scene here. Tito is talking to Espanol and Lux, and they're like, Coach, we're really more infielders, but we'll do whatever you need us to do. And then Nick Kroll pokes his head in. Hey, Tito. Hey, we just called up Hurtubise. Just want to let you know he's on his way. All right, thanks. Do we want to leave it up?
First of all,
open? Okay,
first of all,
and then Tito's going, all right, like I mentioned, guys, you're going to be playing in the outfield more.
So first of all, Terry Francona is the manager. He's not a coach, just so you know. And second of all, yeah, it probably went a lot like that. I think Tito understands you can't play the role players as full-time players. I agree with your argument on Rhys Hines. I think he needs every day at bats, and it's not in his best interest to be the last man on the bench in Cincinnati right now, to fill a few innings in the outfield. I don't know if I agree with Will Benson. I'm wondering if Will Benson's not trending into Nick Senzel territory here now, where it's like, we really just are getting ready to be done with you, and we're going to stick you in the minor leagues because you're kind of a valuable insurance policy.
And he's hit a bit of a slump in AAA now too.
Yeah. And they look at him and like, well, and it's true also that you have a glove and you're a person, so you can help play outfield down there. And in a really, really big bind, will bring you up, like we saw with his 1 game 0 for 4 performance. But I think the Reds are mostly done with Will Benson, Jeff. I don't have anything from within the organization. None of the people I talked to close to the team have said to me, yeah, they're done with Will Benson. He's never coming back. Nobody said that. But I wonder if that's not where that's going right now.
And it's unfortunate that Tyler Callahan is not a part of this conversation for the foreseeable future because of that injury. I mean, I know you guys really, really talked a lot about the play in Atlanta and how goofy it was, and sure, the letter of the law and the rule and all this and blah, blah, blah. Like,
so if one more person messages me on the DMs or Twitter or wherever and says, well, read the rule book. Guys, I read the rule book. I know that the way it is written, that New York made the correct call, but it's dumb because, like I said last night, if Callahan had stood up, walked the ball all the way back to the pitcher's mound, slipped on a rosin bag and dropped the ball, with that interpretation of the rule, that is a safe call. And that's dumb. It was a catch. I thought it was a catch. Anybody that's being honest with themselves thought it was a catch. The Reds broadcast booth thought it was a catch. The Braves broadcast booth thought it was a catch. Both radio booths thought it was a catch. And I think the umpires on the field thought it was a catch mostly because they didn't eject Tito when he came out to talk about it after a replay review, which is an ejectable offense. So let's just all admit together to ourselves that it was the right call by New York and it's dumb. And that's really where I want to leave that.
No, I 100% agree. And I kind of thought it zapped the Reds out of that game. And I get it. Like, you got to get some hits. You got to get some runs.
And one final point.
Yeah.
If it's not a catch, fine. But it's also not a hit. It's either a catch or an error. How that was an inside the park home run with earned runs is beyond me, because it can't be both things. That can't have been a drop and not have been an error. So I don't know what they were doing there. None of it. It's all dumb, Jeff. It's all dumb. And I blame Manfred Hates Baseball. And that's just the way it is.
Right. But the long and short of it is Tyler Callahan not a part of this outfield equation, at least for the next couple of months. And the outfield equation is pretty simple. The answer is go trade for somebody.
All right, Jeff. Well, we've talked a lot about the outfield, but there are other aspects of this team that some people want to identify as priority number one. Coming up, we're going to talk about what exactly is up with the Reds bullpen. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, flights from Hawaii to Cincinnati? It's really easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and spending in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of just juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even long-term plan your goals right there in the app. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared accounts and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Make sure you are subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great content we've got coming your way. Jeff and I, Monday through Friday here on Locked On Reds. Tim Daniel, after every single game, all 162, doing a postcast for you live after every game. Make sure you are subscribed so you get all that, plus whatever bonus stuff we've got coming your way. If something big happens, if there's some kind of milestone, some kind of big deal in a game, we will be live in your feeds, and you want to make sure you don't miss that. All right, Jeff, there are some people out there that think the bullpen is really where the emergency is, that the bullpen is really what needs to be worked on. Over at the Cincinnati Enquirer, Gordon Grumpy Butt Whitmire and Jason, man carrying this water for ownership, is Heavy Williams, got together and did a counterpoint talking about the bullpen. And I, for the life of me, can't figure that out, because I look around the room and we just did the outfield discussion. This Reds bullpen, I feel like, and I know you could probably torpedo this, maybe not, but I feel like this is probably a league average bullpen, a bullpen that's like right in the middle of baseball. They're not stellar and they're not garbage. They're average, and they occasionally play their way into being near maybe the top 10 in the league, the top third as a bullpen for the Reds. But there are those out there that want them to go right now and get a big time, flashy, turn off the lights and play some music closers to bolster this thing.
I saw this article between Gordon and Jason, and I know that Gordon really established this as a storyline he was going to follow back in spring training, where he said this team does not have a closer. And I think if you entered this year saying that Alexis Diaz is the closer come hell or high water, then you agree with him. But that's not the case. No, we didn't say that. We came out and we said, okay, Diaz could be. There are some options as well, though. And quite frankly, I think they have another option. He's got to pitch more before I really start to put him in this category. But Luis May could be entering his name into that category a little bit later on this season. We got to see how he continues to go. But man, his first 3 innings have been rather impressive. Anyway, I like Pagan so far. I like Graham Ashcraft and what he has shown out of the bullpen. Would like to see more of that coming from him. And I like Tony Santillan. And I like Tony Santillan as well. I said at the beginning of the season, I thought Tony Santillan would end up leading the team in saves by the end of the year. You did say that.
You are on record. You were
I'm going to be wrong about that. I think Emilio Pagan is going to finish that way. But I do think that Tony Santillan has the capability to do all that. I think it is a deep bullpen that is fine. It's not an elite bullpen. I'm not putting it up against the Padres. I'm not putting it up against the Dodgers. I don't know that I'm putting it up against the Yankees or the Mets. But I'm also not putting it down there and saying that this is going to be the reason that they miss their expectations for the year. And I think there's some people that are approaching it from that point of view. And I don't agree.
Yeah. There's things they're not doing well, right? They're not striking guys out. Something you'd like to see your bullpen come do is blow guys away. They're not doing that. They've struck out 102 batters thus far as a bullpen.
Only the Royals have struck out less.
Right.
Yeah.
For a comparison's sake, the Padres bullpen has struck out 136. Right. So, they're not getting the strikeouts that you would like to see them get. Now, you look at the other stat that I always dial in on, walks. They've walked 51 guys compared to the Padres whose walks are in the 30s. They're walking too many guys. So when you look at a stat like WAR, which I know you love WAR and you've used WAR for a couple seasons now, and I don't know how I feel about it in relationship to comparing a whole bullpen, but if you look at WAR and it takes into account FIP, like you like to talk about, maybe luck is a thing with this bullpen, and I'm okay admitting that they've lucked their way from being middle of the road to almost top third. And I think that's okay. I think if you look around the room and I try to identify the needs of this team, if you got me my big, strong, going to play everyday outfielder that hits some home runs, and then you said, you know what, we want to go do one more thing. Okay, cool. Go get me another bullpen arm then. But if we've got to prioritize the thing, it's outfield over bullpen.
Well, and I think too, our point is if you're going to trade for a relief pitcher, it's a middle relief guy. You don't need to go get a closer. You don't need to go stoop and give like a top prospect and maybe a mid-level prospect or whatever it would cost to get a big time closer. And who would even be available, like looking around at the teams that are likely to be sellers, like the Marlins don't have a closer.
You're more interested in a guy that you would would slot in 7th inning, 8th inning.
Yes. Just adding
you've got Pagan and Ashcraft to be your 9th inning guys the rest of the time.
And there's a chance they have that coming off the IL. Like if Sam Maul comes off the IL healthy, we have seen what Sam Maul can do when he is healthy and when his conditioning is, where it should be. That's not how he began the season. And that's why he has been bad so far. And we're not going to see Alexis Diaz, who, looking at wins above replacement for the entire bullpen, he's the guy that's weighing it down because he has negative 0.5 WAR, and the highest positive WAR for a bullpen pitcher for the Reds is Graham Ashcraft at 0.3. So the worst guy is outweighing the top guy. And so that's why you see the WAR coming down a little bit. But the other thing, and you were kind of talking about this, the luck factor. The Reds have the number 1 luckiest batting average on balls in play for a bullpen group in all of baseball. Their BABIP as a group is 209. League average is like 290. So that's going to come up. Like water finds its level when it comes to these scenarios.
So how do you answer that then? Because I know you love BABIP. I know you love FIP. But one of the things we said in spring training is what this bullpen group was going to have to do was pitch to weak contact and let the defense work for them, because there weren't a lot of overpowering strikeout guys in this bullpen. Now, Santillan has played way better than I thought. You were on that early. Graham Ashcraft, I thought was going to really lean into this role eventually and do well. He has. But for the most part, Suter's not a big strikeout guy. Ian Jabot can be good, but he's not going to blow your doors off. Taylor Rogers is not going to blow your doors off. Barlow's not going to blow your doors off. These are not crazy high strikeout guys. So we said pitch to weak contact. Don't those numbers actually say more they're doing what we said they needed to do to be successful unless they're lucky?
The one thing that they need to do that they're not doing right now is keep the ball on the ground. They are 27th in Major League Baseball in ground ball rate. 36% of the balls that are put in play off the bullpen are on the ground. And when you play at Great American Ballpark and you're allowing better than 60% of the balls put into the air, whether it's line drive or fly ball, that means the chances of giving up a home run and giving up a quick run it's just too high. So they've got to, if they're going to work on anything, I would love to see more strikeouts for sure. But if they're going to work on anything, it's got to be to keep that ball on the ground, because we're getting into the months where those fly balls carry. They haven't carried yet.
Right. I think that's fair. How many times were you and I, when I was in town last, sitting in the ballpark going, that would have been gone in June. That would have been gone. Yeah. And so you're right. They do need to limit those fly balls.
So that's going to be the big thing, because right now they're getting lucky on what they're allowing in play, and they're not striking out enough people. And that is where the FIP is not loving it. They've got a team ERA or a bullpen ERA of 3.6, but they're fielding independent pitching. Their FIP says that it should be closer to 5. So we got to watch out for that.
All right, Jeff. Well, that's the bullpen discussion, and I continue to think they're okay. Wouldn't hurt my feelings if they're fine. If they get an outfielder and a bullpen guy, I would be a happy guy. But let's do something fun to wrap things up, because there was a show you saw where the hypothesis of let's just rebrand minor league teams came about, and it got us both to thinking, would it be fun, or is there even any need to rebrand any of the Reds minor league affiliates? We're going to talk about that coming up next.
There's a Reds homestand right around the corner, and the best way to get to Great American Ballpark is with Game Time. Game Time makes it so easy to get the best deals on your next seat at Great American Ballpark. Or if you want to travel on down to Atlanta, you want to follow along with where the Reds are. If maybe you're down in Houston, you want to go get some Texas barbecue and go see a ball game, they will show you your view from your seat, so that even though you're in an unfamiliar place, you will be familiar with your view, making sure you get the exact right seat. Check out Game Time today. Do like what me and Steve do. Get the best deals on your next ticket to a Reds game. That's the Game Time app. Download it, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. They've got the last minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're seriously on all of them out there. And yeah, Steve, I kind of wanted to end this on a fun note, and I'd ask the chat what they think about this as well, because there's a show called Last Week Tonight. I watch it on Max, and John Oliver, the host, is a funny comedian. I love watching his stuff, but he did this great bit where he was talking about the minor leagues and the quirky names. You think of like the Rocket City Trash Pandas and things like that. And he was also talking about like all the different promotions that different teams do that are so much fun. And then he was also talking about some of the boring teams, like the Iowa Cubs or the Worcester Red Sox or the Syracuse Mets, the minor league teams that are named after their major league affiliates, so on and so forth. He even mentioned the Buffalo Bisons. It's just like, really? Buffalo Bison? That's how you got your name? Congratulations. And he said, our team here at the show, at a show that is employed by HBO, if you email us and let us know, we will rebrand your entire minor league team. We'll rename you, give you a new mascot, new uniforms, all that other stuff. The only catch is no questions asked. You can't give us notes. We will do all of the digging that we need to do and honor your city and honor your region and your fan base, but also make it a lot of fun. So I was thinking about this, and I was kind of looking at the minor league teams for the Reds, and I definitely don't think the Dragons need any rebranding. They're perfect. I don't think the Chattanooga Lookouts need any rebranding. They're perfect. But what would you say if either the Tortugas or the Bats, and I could even maybe see an argument for the Bats because Louisville Slugger and all that other stuff, like, would you pick one of those two to be like, yeah, give us what you got?
I think I would like to maybe rebrand one. I listen, I like the minor league. I like the Louisville Bats. I like the Louisville Bats. I really kind of like the whole Daytona Tortugas vibe.
They do
down
have
there.
fun colors. Yeah,
I don't know that I would mess with that. I'm not sure. Maybe Chattanooga.
Okay.
Because it's such a fun city name, Chattanooga. You could do something with that. And I don't know what it would be. I don't know how to lean into like Tennessee's heritage more, but I would maybe like to see that. Also, I would do something with the Complex League. I would make the Arizona Complex League have some kind of fun name. Maybe first by start calling it something other than the Arizona Complex League. But for me,
the ACL Reds.
I'm a fan of the rebrands in the minor league. I'm a fan of getting to where you can do cool things with uniforms and hats and mascots. And because I think lacked so much at the major league level, these city connects I thought were great. And long overdue for something different for the Reds. And I really wish they would overhaul the rest of the uniform. But being absent of that, let's focus in on one and ask the viewers, ask the listeners to send in their submittals. So, for me, would you rather do something other than Chattanooga, or do you think Chattanooga is the one?
I would think Daytona.
Okay.
And it's not because I think it's boring. I'm just kind of thinking like for Reds perspectives. Like obviously you pick like Iowa Cubs or Buffalo Bisons or something like that to rebrand. But from a Reds perspective, I would pick Daytona just to see what they could do with that one. But you're right. I think Tennessee lends itself to some interesting things with the lookouts. I could even maybe see some sort of bourbon theme with the Louisville Bats. Right? Like
let's just open it up all the way then. If you're listening to this show, if you're watching this show, Alexa's yelling at me. If you're watching this show, if you're listening to this show, and you have an idea that you think would overhaul the mascot, the name, the color scheme, the whole branding of any of these minor leagues, send them in. Drop them in the comments. Hit us up on social medias. Get us on X. You can DM them if you don't want it out there for the world. And let us know what you think. I think this could be fun.
We'll give this a few days. We'll kind of circle back on this on Friday and take a look at some of the ideas, because I'm with you. I think that this could be a lot of fun. Like the Rocket City Trash Pandas are a perfect idea because they used to be the Huntsville Stars. And quite frankly, they played in a very boring stadium. I remember it well. I used to live down there. And the Rocket City Trash Pandas are just far more infinitely interesting. And I love everything about
it. And their gear is good. Their gear is good.
Gear.
Their logo, the mascot, all of it is great. All of it is fantastic.
I think they sold over $2 million worth of merchandise before they ever played a game. It's fantastic. But yeah, anyway, wanted to end the show on that kind of fun note. Make sure you comment, hit us up on socials, all that great stuff. Our social handles are right down here. You can follow me at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. You can follow Steve at S Offenbaker with 2 Fs. And make sure that you subscribe to the show. If you're not an everydayer and you got this far, I mean, you need to subscribe and become an everydayer. It's obvious. Do that right now on YouTube and on your favorite podcast apps. Check out Tim on the Reds Postcast live after the final out of every Reds game. And make sure you make your next listen Locked On MLB Game Night over on the Locked On MLB channel. They've got you covered every game, every night, because we are all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And Steve, what's that mean for you and me? That
means we are going to get the reports, the rumors, the writings, and bring it all back here and keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Alexa was giving you her idea for the minor league.
I think so. That's never happened before.